Hello, my bookish friends. Welcome or welcome back. I am Elizabeth. This is Reading Riley, and today I have book club announcements for Q2, that is April, May, and June. I'm so excited to tell you about all of these books. I realize that I am a little late sharing this for this month, the month of April, but I hope that you can still join us because this book that I have chosen for this month I feel like is going to be more readily available or easily obtained through perhaps your library or something like that. So we will get into that soon, but I'm going to tell you about the books that we will be reading. I will give you a description of those books so you can tell whether or not you're interested in reading it with us. And then I'm going to tell you about my co-hosts who are going to be joining me for the live show discussions of each of these books. If you are unfamiliar with the Midnight Society Book Club, it is my free online book club. There's really no obligation on your end other than just read the book and then join us for the live show at the end of the month. You can also follow my Instagram at the Midnight Society Book Club. That is where I'm going to post all of the most recent updates and things like that. So actually, if you do follow me on there already, then you already know about these books and these co-hosts because you get the information first over there. So go ahead and go on over and follow me over there. Join us at the end of the month for the live show. That's it. Either one or two, sometimes more people will join me, and these are creators and book lovers and friends and just people that I either want to get to know or want to spend time with or feel like would be interested in these books that we're reading as well. The way I like to describe the kind of books that we read in the book club, it's generally thriller, horror, and feminist fiction, and that pretty much sums up my taste in general. Also, if you're unaware, the kind of theme and the name for this book club is based off of the Nickelodeon TV show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Where they would tell scary stories around the campfire at night, and they would submit these stories for the approval of the Midnight Society. Unlike some other people who have book clubs, Reese, Gemma, whoever, I have not read these books necessarily before we read them together because I like to be able to read them together. So it's not that I am recommending these as a book club, but it's that we are going to read them together as a community and figure out if we do like them. Now, how do we determine if we like them as a whole or not? I have a system. Basically, it's pretty simple. The average star rating between myself and my co-hosts is going to determine whether or not we accept this into the Midnight Society or not. And the cutoff point is 3 stars. So if on average, myself and my co-hosts think that this book is a 3-star book, we will accept it into the Midnight Society, and if not, we will deny it. Unfortunately, but I will base future recommendations on this. Generally, if I rate a book 3 stars, I think that I like it, and I would recommend it. And 2 or 1 star, I probably would not recommend. So that's gonna follow through with the Midnight Society as well. Let's get into the books for April, May, and June of 2024. I am calling this the season of red. All of these books have red covers, and so I feel like it's giving a theme, it's giving a vibe, it's giving a tone, and I'm here for it. So this month in April, we are going to be reading Killers of the Flower Moon. This is by David Grann. It came out in 2017 and was recently adapted into a Martin Scorsese movie, starring tons of A-list actors, and I am dying to watch the movie, but I cannot make myself watch it before I've read this book. I could make myself watch it, but I can't rationalize it. So we're gonna read the book. This has won all kinds of awards as well. It's supposed to be really good. It's got a 4.15 rating average on Goodreads. It's 416 pages long, and this is categorized under nonfiction, history, true crime, mystery. In the 1920s, the richest people per capita in the world were members of the Osage Nation in Oklahoma. After oil was discovered beneath their land, the Osage rode in chauffeured automobiles, built mansions, and sent their children to study in Europe. Then, one by one, the Osage began to get killed off. The family of an Osage woman, Molly Burkhart, became a prime target. One of her relatives was shot, the other was poisoned, And this was just the beginning, as more and more Osage were dying under mysterious circumstances, and many of those who dared to investigate the killings were themselves murdered. As the death toll rose, the newly created FBI took up the case. So this is documenting the quote-unquote beginning of the FBI, the birth story of the FBI, so to speak. And the young director, J. Edgar Hoover, turned to a former Texas Ranger named Tom White to try to unravel the mystery. White put together an undercover team, including a Native American agent who infiltrated the region, and together with the Osage began to expose one of the most chilling conspiracies in American history. This isn't like my typical pick, obviously, but I'm really excited to read it. I think I'm going to learn a lot about history in this. I think there's gonna be a lot of, I hope it's amazing. I hope I love it. I'm going to be joined for the live show this month by my IRL best friend, Saundra. You may remember Saundra or Saundra from last year. And I think it's just gonna be a yearly thing for us now. Saundra is saucy and spicy, a loud woman wrapped up in a little package. She is the Danny DeVito to my Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love her to death. So she's gonna be joining us. It's gonna be a good time. And she also will have a lot to say about this, I guarantee it. That live show is gonna be on May 1st. This is a little different for us. I'm trying out different days of the week to have the live show, so let me know what works for y'all and what doesn't in the comments below. This one, we're gonna try a weekday live show. It's gonna be May 1st. That is a Wednesday evening, and it's gonna be at 7 p.m. Central Time, and that is 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. For those of you who cannot make it to the weekend live shows, this will give you an opportunity to be able to join us for the live show. Let's move on to May. I'm very excited to announce to y'all that in May, we're going to be reading The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is a translated work originally written, I believe, in Korean. Yeah, and the setting of this book is in Seoul, South Korea. This has been translated by Deborah Smith, and I think it's a novella. It's very short, 188 pages. So this one is super going to be a quick read, or maybe not though, because I know this is going to be a heavy one, and it's going to be one of those that has a lot to say, but is very kind of painful to get through because we're touching on a lot of dark themes. Dark themes. People either love it or they hate it. It has a 3.58 on Goodreads right now. And it's said to be fiction, contemporary, horror, literary fiction with mental health. Okay, so that's cool. This is said to be an allegory for women's fight for power and freedom, but it's also following a woman who is pushing the norm, but maybe in a way that's unhealthy. Let's go ahead and read this synopsis and you can be the judge for yourself. It says, before the nightmare, Young Hee and her husband lived an ordinary life. But when splintering, blood-soaked images start haunting her thoughts, Young Hee decides to purge her mind and renounce eating meat. So she's going to become a vegetarian, hence the title. In a country where societal mores are strictly obeyed, Young Hee's decision to embrace a more plant-like existence is a shocking act of subversion. And as her passive rebellion manifests in ever more extreme and frightening forms, scandal, abuse, and estrangement begin to send Young Hee spiraling deep into the spaces of her fantasy. In a complete metamorphosis of both mind and body, her now dangerous endeavor will take Young Hee impossibly, ecstatically, tragically far from her once known self altogether. Wow. It sounds so good. It sounds so good. Also in May, I will be joined by two co-hosts, fellow booktubers, Instagrammers, creators, book lovers. The first is Miss Haley Hughes, who also was a co-host last year on my channel for the book club. The woman has good taste. I just did a video, a booktuber taste test video based on Haley's recommendations, and girl, she gives me some good recommendations. So Haley is also a therapist, so I know she's gonna have some kind of interesting perspective about the mental health representation in this book. So I'm very excited for that. I'm also going to be joined for The Vegetarian by Sweetie, or Kelsey, who is an awesome booktuber. Y'all, everyone needs to go follow her. She does not have enough followers. She is such an amazing creator, creative soul. Her YouTube is Sweetie, and so is her Instagram. She does all of her own graphics, and they're so unique and beautiful, and I just love how she embraces the artistic and creative side of life. She reads thriller, horror, unhinged women, sad girl lit fic, and she does everything. She's so awesome. Please go follow her. I'm going to list all of these accounts in the description down below, so feel free to go down there and check out my co-host as well whenever you get a chance. And then I don't have the live show date yet for May or June, but of course check the Instagram for those and I will make sure to announce it over there. I'll try to tag it in one of my other videos along the way, but I probably won't have a dedicated video just for that. Moving on. Oh my god, I don't even know how to get into this again. I am so overwhelmed by our June pick. It's Death in the Details. This is by Katie Tejan, I think is how you say her last name. I'm not sure. But I have talked about this book so many times now. It was in my most anticipated video. Oh, it's coming out today? Yesterday, as of me filming this. It came out yesterday. Oh my god. I didn't get my hands on this. Death in the Details by Katie Tejan. New release book. We're reading this in June. It's 288 pages, and this is classified as mystery, historical fiction. And it is inspired by Frances Glessner Lee. I honestly, I'm so overwhelmed whenever I bring up this name because if you don't know who she is, I'm desperate to let you know who she is. And if you do know who she is, I don't want to annoy you by telling you 1,700 times, but let's just give you a brief synopsis. Let's look at her Wikipedia. Let's look for the highlights. Let's get some of the highlights on the Wikipedias. Oh, she was born in 1878. Wow, I didn't think she was born that early. She was an American forensic scientist. We owe forensics to this woman, essentially. She was influential in developing the science of forensics in the United States. To this end, she created the Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death. The Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death are tiny dioramas that she made to scale little doll houses of crime scenes that she made to help detectives, investigators investigate a death scene. 18 of the Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death are still in use for teaching purposes in the Maryland office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and the dioramas are also now considered works of art, because of course they are. Of course they are! She also was essentially responsible for the role of a medical examiner existing at all, and she helped establish the Department of Legal Medicine at Harvard, and she became the first female police captain. I mean, she's so impressive. She was very privileged. Let me say this. Going into this, she was a privileged woman. She was a socialite in Chicago. Okay, she grew up bored. She had every single opportunity to do this. So that's something that I must mention because I'm praising her for doing something that it would essentially be impossible to anyone of normal means, especially to someone who's not white. So, just saying that, I understand her privilege, but nonetheless, she was doing some stuff that back then women did not do. Women did not go to school. She defied those expectations. She didn't want to get married and just be this boring housewife. She wanted to do something with her life, and she put in the work and she did that, and I respect that so much. Anyway, let's get back to the book. I'm also going to link my most anticipated video above and below, and I do explain it there. I also have another video, oh my god, there's too many, where I look at her actual dioramas and try to, figure out the crime scene and what happened. I'll link all of that down below. Okay, so now let's read the description of the story. Inspired by the real-life Frances Glessner Lee and featuring a whip-smart, intrepid sleuth in post-World War II Vermont, Maple Bishop is ready to put World War II and the grief of losing her husband Bill behind her. But when she discovers that Bill left her penniless, Maple realizes she could lose her Vermont home next and sets out to make money the only way she knows how, by selling her intricately crafted dollhouses. Business is off to a good start until Maple discovers her first customer dead. His body is left hanging precariously in his own barn. Remember that for later. Something about the supposed suicide rubs Maple the wrong way, but local authorities brush off her concerns. Determined to see what's big in what's small, Maple turns to what she knows best, and that is painstakingly recreating the crime scene in Death in a Nutshell. With the help of a rookie officer named Kenny, Maple uses her macabre miniature to dig into the dark undercurrents of her sleepy town, where everyone seems to have a secret and a grudge. But when one of her neighbors, who she never really got along with, with, her nemesis, goes missing and she herself becomes a suspect, it'll be up to Maple to find the devil in the details and put him behind bars. Drawing inspiration from true crime and offering readers a smartly plotted puzzle of a mystery, Death in a Nutshell is a stunning series debut. Now, the reason I said put a pin in that, remember that, when I was referring to this man found hanging precariously in his own barn, is because one of Frances Glessner Lee's nutshell dioramas is literally called, well, it's called Barn, but it's also known as The Case of the Hanging Farmer. And this was made around 1943, 1944. And so my guess is that she is using this diorama as a reference point, as a starting off point, as a way to build a world around this, a fictional world, and tell her stories. And I'm so excited because what that means, since this is a series debut, is that she can take each diorama and make its own story around that diorama. And I think it's just a brilliant idea, and I cannot wait to read this. I am so obsessed, y'all. I'm also excited for my co-hosts for June. First of all, I'm going to be joined by Lexi from Books with Lexi. Lexi tends to read very similar genres to me. She does love thriller, horror, some mystery, books set in the real world with sci-fi or fantasy elements, which I like as well. She also is on Instagram. She hosts a readathon called Escape the Readathon, so be sure to go and check her out. And then also I'm going to be joined by Mara from Books Like Whoa. She's been live on my channel before for a discussion about dark fiction. I'm sorry if you can hear the rain. It is raining so hard right now. But she has not been a co-host for my book club, so I'm so excited to have her because I've been a fan of hers for a long time. She's so thoughtful and so smart. She's just a very strong woman, I feel like, and I respect her. I know that Mara has read this one, Savage Appetites by Rachel Monroe, because I got this rec from her. And this is 4 true stories of women, crime, and obsession. So it's all women who have led lives that have interwoven with crime in some way, and they're all different, very different ways. But one of the women featured in this story is Frances Glessner Lee. So I know that Mara knows who Frances Glessner Lee is at the very least, and she's also a big fan of mystery. And so I think it's going to be a really fun one to pick apart with her. I didn't mention this before, but this is another book about Frances Glessner Lee, 18 Tiny Deaths, The Untold Story of Frances Glessner Lee and the Invention of Modern Forensics. This is by Bruce Goldfarb, and this is another excellent resource if you're interested in learning more about Frances Glessner Lee in general. But both of these books have inspired. It started with this one, then this one, and now we're getting Death in the Details, and it's like a whole little family of books that have come with me along my little obsession, and you know, it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a great time reading it. Even if this book is terribly written, I think it's still, there's gonna be a lot to talk about just because of the FGL situation, okay? So, but I am hoping it's amazing. So we have Mara and Lexi both in June, and I've got some stuff in the works for July, August, September as well. I will make sure that I get that announcement video out to you in a reasonable time. I feel like I'm starting to get my life back together as far as having time, making time to make videos and edit and get that out to y'all, and kind of still not have the rest of my life fall apart. You know, it's always a precarious balance, but you know, we do what we can, right? I know I've been sitting here talking for a long time, but I hope that once this is edited, it's not too encumbering and long. But I hope I got all the information out to y'all that you are looking for, wanting, needing, all of the things. And I hope you will join us and read some of these books with us for the book club. It's gonna be a great time. Like this video, subscribe if you have not already, and you want to see more of this kind of content and material, and book things, and horror things, and all of the things. I appreciate you all so much, everyone who participates, all of my co-hosts, and I love our little community that we have built together. And that's it for this time, so don't forget that life is short, so read Riley. Cheers, and goodbye!